The rumble of engines shattered the Saturday morning calm as 20 motorcycles rolled down Maple Street like a thunderstorm made of chrome and leather. Curtains twitched. Neighbors peeked from porches, whispering. Most people weren't sure what to make of the Steel Guardians Motorcycle Club. They weren't exactly a gang, more like a family of misfits who'd traded troubled pasts for charity rides and veteran fundraisers. Their patches looked intimidating, their bikes louder than reason, but their mission was simple: no one gets left behind. The riders were en route to a children's hospital charity event when something unexpected stopped them dead in their tracks. A tiny figure stumbled into the middle of the road. The lead rider, a broad-shouldered man named Colt, gray beard, battle scar over one eye, president of the club, slammed on his brakes so hard sparks flew from the tires. His bike wobbled but didn't fall. The others fanned out behind him, forming a wall of chrome. Colt killed the engine and lifted his helmet. "Whoa there, kiddo," he said, voice gentle despite his gruff appearance. "You all right?" The girl was barefoot. Her polka-dot dress was ripped at the shoulder. She was shaking so hard her teeth chattered. Tears streaked clean lines through the dirt on her face. Please," she whimpered, chest heaving. "Please arrest my daddy." The bikers froze. Colt blinked. "What did you say?" She balled her fists like she was trying to hold herself together. "He's hurting my mommy. He said no one will stop him. But you look like police. Or soldiers. Or," her lower lip quivered, "or bad guys who beat up worse guys." There was a beat of stunned silence. Then a low murmur rose among the riders. Not a single one laughed. Not a single one turned away. Colt crouched down slowly until he was eye level. "Sugar," he said softly, "we're not police. But we stop bad guys when we have to. You hear me?" She sniffed, nodding like she was trying not to hope too hard. "He's in our house right there." She pointed toward a peeling blue house at the end of the block. As if on cue, a crash echoed down the street, glass breaking, followed by a woman's scream. The girl flinched like she'd been struck. That was it. Colt stood, face carved from stone. He didn't give a speech. Didn't ask for votes. He just looked at his men and women. They were already revving their engines. One biker scooped the girl into his arms and shielded her behind the line of motorcycles. Another, a woman named Raven with braided hair and fire in her eyes, grabbed her phone. "I'm calling this in, but we're not waiting." Colt cracked his knuckles, walked straight toward the house, and growled, "Steel Guardians." Formation. What had been a charity ride turned into a rescue mission. And for the first time in her life, that little girl felt safer standing with 20 rough-looking strangers than she ever had inside her own home. The front door of the peeling blue house rattled on its hinges as Colt's boot connected with it. The wood splintered, and the door flew inward with a crash that made even the bikers outside jump. Inside, the air reeked of cheap whiskey and fear. A man stood in the middle of the living room, unshaven, wild-eyed, and swaying. He towered over a woman curled up on the floor, her arms covering her head. A broken lamp lay beside her. Blood trickled from her lip. Her clothes were torn, and she flinched even at the sound of the bikers' footsteps. The drunkard spun around, bottle in hand. "Who the hell are you?" he slurred, taking a swing at Colt. Colt didn't move. He caught the man's wrist midair like it was nothing. "We're the people," he growled, voice low and deadly, "you should have prayed would never show up." Before the man could react, two more bikers stormed in, Tank and Razor, both former military. They grabbed him by the arms like he was a rag doll. He thrashed, spitting curses. "Let me go. She's my wife. This is my house." Tank twisted his arm behind his back until the man yelped. Razor zip-tied his wrists behind him with brutal efficiency. "You lost the right to say those words when you raised your hand to her," Razor said. The woman tried to scramble away, trembling like a trapped animal. Raven knelt beside her, hands raised in peace. Hey, you're safe now. He can't hurt you." The woman looked up slowly, confusion clouding her swollen eyes. She didn't seem to understand what was happening. She searched the room, panic flaring. "Where's Lily?" "Outside," Raven said gently. "She came to us for help." Tears burst from the woman's eyes. She covered her face, shoulders shaking. "She shouldn't have had to," she whispered. "She shouldn't." Raven pulled her into a firm, protective hug. "She won't again." Outside, the engines were still rumbling, forming a living barricade. The little girl, Lily, was sitting on a bike seat, wrapped in another biker's jacket like it was a blanket. She watched the house with wide, unblinking eyes, hands gripping the handlebars like she was ready to ride into battle. When Colt stepped out with her father restrained between tank and Razor, Lily jolted to her feet. Her father sneered at her. "You little traitor, you called them." Lily didn't speak, she just took one step forward and hid behind Colt's leg. Colt stared the man down. "You ever talk to her again," he said, voice like thunder, "and I'll make sure you leave this town with more than just handcuffs." Raven appeared with the mother, supporting her carefully. When Lily saw her, she broke free and ran to her, sobbing. The mother dropped to her knees and wrapped her arms around her daughter, whispering apologies over and over. One of the bikers handed Colt his phone. "Cops will be here in 3. What do we do until then?" Colt folded his arms, eyes never leaving the restrained man. "We wait." And they did. 20 bikers, standing guard like armored sentinels, refusing to move until justice arrived. Blue and red lights painted the street minutes later as 2 police cruisers rolled to a halt. Officers stepped out cautiously, one hand resting on their holsters, because it wasn't every day they arrived to find 20 bikers standing like a wall around a house. One officer, a tall, calm-eyed man named Officer Reed, stepped forward. "What's going on here?" Colt pointed at the restrained man kneeling on the grass, wrists zip-tied, still cursing under his breath. "Domestic assault. We intervened. Mother and child are safe inside. Evidence all over the living room." Reed raised an eyebrow. "You restrained him yourselves." Tank shrugged. He resisted politely. Another officer checked the house and came out moments later with a grim face. "It's bad. Real bad." He nodded to his partner. "Get him in the car." As the father was hauled to his feet, he spat in Colt's direction. "You'll regret this. All get out. You think you're heroes." Raven stepped forward, eyes cold as steel. "We're not heroes. We're consequences." The officers didn't argue. As the squad car pulled away, Lily watched through the window. For the first time, she didn't look afraid, just quiet. Processing, healing. But the bikers weren't done. Raven approached Officer Reed. "She can't go back in that house with it looking like a war zone. And what if he gets out? Protective order or not, locks won't hold." Colt nodded. "We'll make sure they're secured." Officer Reed looked at him carefully. "You planning to leave your bikes parked here forever?" Colt cracked a rare smile. "We're pretty good at taking shifts." The officer smirked. "Good. Just don't let the WA complain." They shared a silent understanding. Some men wore badges, others wore leather. But today, they were on the same side. Over the next few hours, the Steel Guardians transformed the little house. Tank and Razor reinforced the front door with a steel frame they had in their truck, leftover from a garage project. 2 others installed new locks and a camera system. Raven and another woman named Jess cleaned the living room, replacing broken glass and bringing in fresh blankets. A few more riders headed to the grocery store, returning with bags of food, toiletries, and, at Lily's request, pink strawberry ice cream. When Lily saw the kitchen filled with food, she gasped. Is this all for us?" Jess grinned. "Well, I don't think we're eating it." Lily ran to Colt and hugged his leg without warning. He froze for a moment, unsure what to do. Big men like him weren't used to tiny arms squeezing them like teddy bears. But then his hand gently rested on her back. "You're safe now, little warrior," he said. That night, the sun dipped below the horizon, but the rumble of engines didn't fade. 2 bikes parked at the end of the driveway. Engines off. Riders seated, silent, watching the house like sentinels. They weren't asked to stay. They stayed because real guardians don't clock out. And for the first time in a long time, Lily fell asleep without fear, knowing that outside her window, the night was loud, so her world could be quiet.